Hello, I hope you're doing well. This is going to be a quick video. I will be demonstrating how I doodle my floral arrangements in my planner, just like very quickly and roughly. It's not going to be realistic by any means, but it's a great way to just remember all of the flowers that I buy for example, my mom or some other occasion. So yeah, hopefully you find this helpful. Alright, so the first reference that I will be using is of this arrangement of flowers. I think this was Mother's Day 2023, and this is my mom holding the flowers. But I wanted to start with this one because I think it should be the easiest. It's all roses of different colors, and then there's just bits of white and some dark green in between. So first, I am going to pick out the colors. We can see that there is a bright orange, so I will be using 933. There's a yellow, which will be 025. We have a lighter pink, which I will be using 761. And then for this dark reddish pink, I'm going to use 743, which isn't the perfect match, but just because this is supposed to be a nice little doodle, I don't really want to use like a super saturated hot pink. So this is actually already pretty dark. And I think this is a pretty lovely palette. We do have a cream in front. I will not be using any colors for that. We're just going to stick with the white of the paper. And then as for the dark green leaf, I think I will use 249. This is what we will be working with. So I don't know about you, but to me this is quite overwhelming. I don't really know where to start. So I take a few moments to study this picture and turn everything into blobs. And that is basically my entire lesson. It's just to turn everything into blobs. So I then pick a few flowers that I want to spend the most time on. And just looking at this, I'm going to pick these two lighter pink flowers and then this one orange flower. So let's start with the pink. There's this orange flower and this darker pink flower, so we want to leave a little bit of room to the left. So to place the pink, I'm just going to do a blob here. And then you can see that slightly to the right and above this first pink flower is the second pink flower. And due to the perspective, this is more of an oval. So I'm going to also draw an oval like that. All just circly blobs. And the next step is going to be this orange one that I said I wanted to focus on. You can see that there is a little bit of space between this pink flower and this orange flower. So I'm also going to leave a little bit of space and do a giant blob. And then since we already have the orange in hand, let's mark in this orange, which is slightly hidden behind this pink, also kind of like an oval shape. And then after that, I just roughly block in the other ones. So we have the yellow, which is also hidden behind the orange. And then we have this bright pink. And again, this pink color isn't a direct match, but I don't really want to use such a deep reddish pink for this. I waited a few moments for the ink to dry, and then now I'm going to go in with my line work pen. I'm going to be using the Tombow fudenosuke brush pen in the hard tip, but you can use anything, a gel pen, black marker. Roses are a little bit overwhelming, so I just start by focusing on one petal and then build outwards from there. So the petal that just jumps right out at me is this petal over here. So that is exactly what I'm gonna do. And then after I have this singular shape down, this is when I start blocking in all of the other ones. And it does not have to be perfect. After getting to this point where I have the main big petals down, the center, I don't follow the photo at all. I just draw a bunch of swirls because nobody's really going to pay attention to that. Wonderful. That is this first flower. Obviously, it's not exact, but we're not really aiming for anything too detailed. Another quote-unquote problem we have here are these little filler flowers. I don't know what they're called, but there's of course a lot of them, and I try not to get too hung up again on the details. So I think these all have frilly little petals, but zoomed out they just look like circular blobs to me. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I am just gonna draw a bunch of blobs like so. Some of it's overlapping into the pinks and oranges, but that's totally okay. A few of them are bigger, a few of them are smaller, so I will try to vary the size whenever I see something notable. I come from a background of doing realistic watercolor landscapes. I used to do that before I did all of my journaling doodles and drawing emojis for the stickers and stuff. So it was actually really difficult for me to learn how to do these like looser sketches. And then now I am going to go back in and detail all of the petals for the other roses. This one you can see forms a tight circle, and then the bottom is really just two big petals. So I'm gonna just focus on the top for now. Draw a little oval, and then again roses, I just do suggestive shapes like this. You can see there is one little fold here, so that's what I will draw. This one is a little bit frillier. Okay, so I have all of the flowers detailed, and then I'm gonna start adding in the finishing touches. So I don't know if you can see, but there's a little bit of pink and a little bit of yellow in the back there from the flowers on the other side of the bouquet. I'm not gonna do much there, but I'm just gonna add in little bits of yellow and a little bit of pink just to suggest that they're there. Okay, and then we're gonna go in with the green, and this is typically where I feel like everything comes to life. Green makes everything look so much better. Okay, so the obvious leaves here are these two. And then there's another one back there. Sometimes I just flick my brush and not really bother with the actual shape of the leaf. And then with the little filler flowers, which again, I don't know what they're called, they have very thin stems. And again, I don't really go off the photo. I just know that there are thin stems. So I just use the bullet tip to again just suggest the stems. And then towards the end, I sometimes like to also add in little details that doesn't exist in the photo to my doodle, just to make it look better in my opinion. So here I'm just adding a few extra leaves that aren't in the actual photo, but I think again it just makes it look better. The final touch is going to be the little bucket sort of thing, and I know the bucket is black, yeah, black, but I am not going to color that in. You can also add little like sparkles to make it more magical. And that is the first one done. I will do another demo, I think. This one I bought for my mom, and then this one I bought for my sister after she gave birth. This one's more complicated, so let's do this one. Okay, let's pick out the colors that I will need. We have this light coral one, which I don't have like a light coral, but I do have this one, 873. I will use a lighter yellow. We have another bright pink. I don't want to use this one. I think I will go with this pink. We have kind of like a purplish pink at the front here, a darker green, and then kind of these like lighter greens. So 098. Okay, let's start the blob method. So I'm going to start with this coral rose over here. And then we have a blob of this purplish thing. So this is a kind of an arrangement itself of a bunch of different little flowers, but zoomed out again, it's just a ball of purple to me. Then we have this, which is a little bit more complicated because it is like a light orange to a yellow center. So I think what I'll do is first suggest the coral outside and then fill it in with yellow. We also have some yellow in the back. It's different shades of yellow, but I'm gonna go with this one. Again, just to keep things simple. We have a pink rose in the back there. This pen is very frayed, but that's okay. And then we have this string of florals. We have some more in the back there, but I'm a little hesitant right now, so I'm going to hold off on detailing that in. So with things like this, I like to, again, pick a few to actually detail, and then the rest I just suggest. So this one looks like a whole flower to me. So let's draw that in. This one underneath also looks pretty important. So I will focus on this one. And then I will pick one more. I think this one. That's kind of like sideways. And then to avoid temptation, I zoom out and then I just draw whatever shapes I see. We have this big diagonal here, so we can immediately mark that in and then just build everything off from that. We have this monster over here. How can we simplify it? This just looks like a bunch of squiggles to me, like little frilly things. So I'm going to start with the center over here. Let's just begin drawing frills. And the petals get bigger and bigger, so my frillies are going to get bigger and bigger. And then finally at the bottom, here we can see more defined petals. And then the ones further away are going to be less detailed. We have another rose. And then we have this thing. I honestly cannot even tell what the shapes are, to be honest. So I'm just gonna make it up. And I do that very often. Nature is weird. I'm just pretending that these are like little bell shapes and that's all I'm drawing. Okay, that is that. We will move on. We have these like whitish cream bulbs in the center. So I'm just gonna draw that in. Next up, I am gonna tackle these details. These are purplish flowers. I'll bring in another purple. It's not a direct match, but that's okay. So these ones I'm actually not going to outline. I think that would just be a bit too much detail. I see more over here and more over there, so that's why I'm drawing that in. More underneath here as well. Then I'm going to tackle all of the greenery. Let's start with the lighter green. I just used the bullet tip again to draw a bunch of the details, and then I use a brush tip for any of the larger leaves. Gonna go in with the darker green now. And again, sometimes I add details that don't even exist just because in the moment I feel like it looks better. Here I'm going to add all of the stems to the bulbs and then add extra leaves. Generally, I like to have 2 shades of green when I draw my arrangements because I think it adds more depth and dimension. Last but not least, we're going to go back in with the black, and I will add in some light details of the yellow that I kind of ignored over there. And then in cases where there are a lot of leaves, I do like to outline a few of them. For example, these ones that are hanging off over here. This just all kind of makes sense in my brain, so maybe it doesn't make sense in your brain and you feel like some other leaves deserve more attention. So it's pretty subjective. This one is jumping out at me as well. And you can see that I add this like center stem to the leaves. Do I see it in the photo? I do not. But I'm just adding it anyways because I think, again, it adds a little bit of dimension. I'm going to draw in the vase now, which is very hidden underneath all of the leaves. There's even a little bit of shadow. Maybe I want to shade in a little bit. I do feel like this is a little bit more vertical than the photo, but that's okay. Again, it's all very, very rough. But let's add in my finishing touch of sparkles, which is my favorite part. I think I also want to add a bit more yellow because the tip of this part has a bunch of yellow. Bring some color in. And that is basically all I have for this video. I don't know if this provided any substance, but I hope it at least inspires you to try doodling something in your planner. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!